Hello, my friends. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you've been subscribing, thanks for returning. My one request to you is, if this video resonates with you, would you please share it? It really helps get my work out there. So thank you. Thanks also for your comments and the interaction that we have. I really appreciate it. Thanks also to the people on Twitter and etc. who send out my work. I'm going to do a short, important message for this chart, and then what I want to do is a little bit of a teaching seminar about the technological effect. I put together a whole bunch of charts to easily explain the concepts. I reconstructed the chart to add it back in. There it is right there. I'm still focused on it, and I wanted to finish explaining to you what I think was going on here, and that's going to be really interesting. So I want to say thank you to some people. Also, I want to offer a resource. Some of you are writing in and saying, well, how could I deal with this? What I want to share is a wonderful couple of blogs that have great articles that relate to ascension, energy, managing your own personal energy, that sort of thing. The first one that I want to share is from Andrea, and she gave me permission to do a little review and go through her review of the current energies astrologically. And the reason why I'm going to include that with this Schumann resonance video is because it is so important. And I do see mirrors between the Schumann resonance and what's going on astrologically. This is a wonderful website, Mayan Magics, and it's a continuation of the work of a famous Mayan artist. There's so many amazing resources that are free on this website, articles that might be helpful for you. And they also have a fantastic store. I've written things down so that I get everything. So you might hear that in the background as well. Now, this is today's chart. The remnants of the technological effect. There was definitely something going on there that affected me, and I still been feeling the effects of that this weekend. My last video was on this concept of the inner sanctum, and we talked a lot about the divine feminine, and I said that there was an individual who had entered the temple, and that this was one of the people that I've been discussing in my seminar. You can see there's not a heart connection, but this is a time when individuals who have this energetic makeup would be able to enter the temple and would have the opportunity to enter the temple, to enter the inner sanctum and see all that peace and calm, connection with the divine that is offered from within. Now, truly entering the temple means going within and eventually having a connection with the divine, or the soul connection in the heart. Something came to me today as I was looking over this chart, and the thing about entering the temple is that there's usually a period of testing that goes on, or challenges that we meet, and then we overcome them, and then we enter the temple through that process. It's through the ages. This has been a sacred process, and now it's a sacred process that all of us really have the opportunity to have access to in these times. Now, it's interesting because in the second pattern here today, you still see the entrance to the temple. The person isn't so clearly there. Okay, so it's almost like what occurred to me was, what are the intentions of this person? Because I was looking at them again today, and I noticed, do you see the dense energy here? And it's actually positioned right in front of the heart, and then it goes up past the throat chakra, but it's clear here. It's interesting. There's maybe a little tiny bit of this veil here, this dark dense energy in front of this is the brain, right, the face, and there's some dense energy in their head. So as I see it, they're looking sort of to the left here, or even maybe forward. They're looking forward. But here's the heart. There's some light that has come in, okay? And that's what I'm talking about, the opportunity for expansion for people who haven't, who've been asleep, not necessarily awake, but there's some real density here in front of the heart, and it kind of had me asking here, what are your intentions, of the person who's entering? Because if someone finds this spot and they're not in the right place, they come to this spot, then maybe this acts as a stick, the black line in front of them. Now I'm going to speak and declare a space of sacred discharge imbued by the sacred flame over this part of the conversation, but it occurred to me that there are those that rather than receive what is offered here in the sacred space of communion with the divine, that they might rather turn this density, the pain of their experiences or their mental projections and mental programming, if you will. They might want to turn that into a stick. Rather than enlightenment, it might be destruction. And so that's pretty intense. But to me, that's what's presented here. Now, after that, what comes is the clearing of the vertices here and some very, very strong waves of not waves, I guess, what am I trying to say here? Pinpoints, really, of the white resonance, a lot of clearing. So what this tells me is that this is less likely to go towards destruction or violence, but that energy is still there. It appears to be transmuted, though, as we go through the chart. And then we get to this space here. And what's fascinating about this space here is that that individual is gone now. It's possible that we see a little bit of them here. This may be an individual who has entered the temple and begun to lighten up here. Look how much more gold there is at the heart. Whereas before, see how much less activated? So fascinating, isn't it? And then here, there's still some density. There's still some clear density here, but the line in front of the heart is gone. There are these dark intentions. That's what comes up here for me. But so it's a challenging time. There's true seekers, but the element of snapback, I would call it, is present. Now, here's the thing, okay? And now I'm just going to talk rather about human beings. I'm going to talk about the dark forces, if you will. And the dark forces meaning in terms of the idea of a spiritual war, the forces of light, the forces of darkness. Well, over time, the dark forces, in terms of their strategies, because of the external environment, have been able to make creations and not have those snap back on them. You see, because energy is always in balance in this universe, and there is I'm gonna not go into detail about this, but basically, as the vibrations and the external environment is lightening up, as more and more people are awakening, someone who commits acts of darkness or intends that, there's a much quicker return of that energy to those beings. And so it adds an element that's more unpredictable, because people who are going to do that kind of thing are going to also be less aware until it happens that's happening. It creates a kind of a possibility for some volatile energy, just saying that. But what do we have here? The space clearing. And even look at this, the matrix clearing. See the matrix of energy? There have been times when this has been just so full of red and yellow and the shadow aspects, the traumatized aspects of humanity. But now we see this at the head level here. Is that still energy present and there's still density in there, and is it up for clearing? Yes. Okay. But it's all broken up. See that? It's all broken up. And then it becomes very clear here as we go through these waves or these lines of white resonance, more expanded energy, which also has the purple, okay, and the jewel colors here, the red and the yellow and the lime green and stuff. Ooh, so amazing. Look at that. And look at that purple. We have the opportunity to balance between the yin and the yang in our system. What that means is that as we bring the light to the shadow, we uncover tool sets that we have, and then we can untangle the trauma and the hidden and unconscious elements of our lives, and then use those tool sets in consciousness and in alignment with the highest good. Pretty cool, huh? All right, let's move on. And this is thank you to Andrea for this information. On Monday, an unusually long Mars retrograde begins and lasts until mid-November, transiting with a square, again to the powerhouse of combination of planets, causing all of the breakup and expose and mayhem in government and in systems that we have been experiencing this year. Basically, this means a review and resetting of all of this on a collective level, but also a grind backwards through some areas of life on personal levels too. Perhaps less stressful than the first time, but still stressing those same themes over again and in a longer way. What that means is that as Mars goes back retrograde, and that's going to be a cycle that goes through the end of November, starting tomorrow. So if you remember the beginning of the summer and how intense that was, and I remember on a personal level, it was very challenging for me. But whatever, so on a personal level, how do you interpret this? Whatever themes came up for you, if you go back to, May, June, July, August, there's going to be a revisiting of those on a personal level and then also on a societal level. So Andrea suggests noticing on a conscious level what is stressed for you, and she reminds us that patience and fortitude through this passage is something to consider and is of importance if you wish to go that route, having patience and fortitude. She does say that at the end of all of this is a better place, and perhaps one we can't even imagine yet. Pretty exciting, huh? It's going to be hard work, but it sounds like there's a reward at the end of all this.